Hey everybody, let me switch this thing around. You don't need to look at my mug today, but hello if you're here. We're going to wait for some people to trickle in. This was an unexpected live stream. Looks like you can see me better if I put my hand over the glare. But we're going to be looking at the tank. We're going to be talking rainbow fish. We're going to be talking shrimp, Caridina shrimp, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the genetics of them and some surprises going on in my tank. So let's turn this around. And as we're waiting for folks to trickle in, I thought I'd show you a new addition to my tank. This tank is the 40-gallon bow front, the real tall one, 28 inches. So howdy, Viola. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. So we've got some fire ring Danios in here. Daryl, hello. Welcome. So I put some fire ring Danios in here. I'd like to spawn them later this season. There's also my mountain minnows in here, and the Chinese white cloud meteor minnows. I don't know why they go by white cloud, honestly. They've got red and silver. Any case, they're in here. Here's a rainbow fish, speak of the devil. That is a blue-eye pseudomcgill fructatus right there, also known as a forktail. She is a lonely female who needs a mate, which I will get her shortly from aquariums and by my house soon. I'm just showing, there's the other lone female rainbow fish. This is a praecox, little female. She is full grown though. She's got a nice iridescent blue and some, if you look at it, nice yellow with a tinge of blue on the bottom fin there. Also, a couple Japanese endlers that were not up to snuff. This is my breeding project where I'm crossing them with leopard endlers. And then, of course, we've got the black neon tetras. Water wizard, what up? Hello, everybody. Valley fish, come on in. And then, as you can see, this being the low-tech tank, it's still growing lush as can be. And I attribute that to the fact that I have a gabillion fish in here. I totally have ignored the inches rule. And, you know, I've got 8 lemon tetras in here, peacock gudgeons, and everybody's getting along really well right now. It helps that I put the power head in here. And what I've done is I've pointed the power head upwards so that the water kind of goes and then comes back and then it loops around on this front bow. Yeah, if you like these Japanese, I'll show you some other ones too. These guys were young males when I culled them. And sometimes they color up better, so I don't want to like give them away all the time. But this is kind of the overflow tank for them. I am really into these Danios right now. In the sun, they are a brilliant orange color, these spotted guys here. And then there's some Kayatha Danios also back in there that look the same, but they're much smaller. They're a lot smaller. So these guys here though have like orange to their fins and like a metallic bronze. Other than that, the other lily that I have in here, the Nymphea micrantha, doing really well. My algae eating, Siamese algae eaters are probably 4 or 5 inches long now. And so I need to figure out what I'm going to do with them. I'd rather give them a bigger home if somebody has a bigger tank and they want it. So yeah, but for now they're fine. There's 2 of them in there, and I've had a spawning mop in here, which I was going to check soon. And they've actually been spawning on it. So I thought it was 2 males fighting each other. It's a male and a female, apparently. I don't know if the eggs are viable, but I watched one of them lay eggs and just let it sit. Also, one of my fish is losing weight quickly. A lot of times you'd think that could be a parasite or a worm, but everybody's been through, decontamination, essentially. So I don't know what the problem is there, if it's just getting old or what the deal is. It's just a little rasbora. This tank is my mismatch tank. The lily is doing some really cool stuff. So when you look at the lily, you think, there's nothing that special there, right? Well, it shoots up these leaves, if you haven't seen this before, that under the right light, if I can get the shot right, they are like purple as can be. Let's see if I can get the light. There you go. Can you see the edge of that? how purple that is. And that's because they have several different membranes, but it just sparkles this purple color. Plus, it's got this psychedelic design on it. So I'm really glad that there wasn't a whole lot of information on this morph, because the usual Nymphea micrantha is not super rare. It's somewhat rare, probably $30 a pop, but this is a morph of that plant, and it's not fertile or viable. So when you look at it, when it comes to the top and a little lotus blossom follows, it's not going to be able to pollinate with another one. And so you have to either split the bulb if the bulb doubles, which it never has. You can see this runner here. This runner will grow 28 inches in 2 days, I guarantee it. It puts out these weird little red runners that go straight to the top, and they look like this purple one. They have a much more purple hue compared to these other more steady growth ones that are just kind of green. So it's a really interesting plant. It has some psychoactive properties that the Egyptians and things used to use. So I'm always interested in watching it grow. But I've been able to use a razor blade and actually cut the stems, not all the way through, but cut the stems real low with like a little bit of root tissue still on it. And that will keep it growing. Also, if it doesn't rot away or wilt away or get chewed on right at this point right here, these guys will grow a nodule that you can then bury, and it will become a bulb. I've just found that out through trial and error. Over here, I've tried to transplant another one, and it's working okay, but one is kind of died off, and that's a bummer. But in this tank, let's talk shrimp. I said I was going to talk Caridina shrimp and rainbowfish. You saw a couple rainbowfish, but not the baby rainbowfish. How's it going, MagTag? Welcome. And I think for the first time, I can't see it, but I got an alert saying, do you want to super chat? And I've never seen that before. Are you guys seeing the ability to click on a super chat? Because I was never monetized. And so that feature had never been extended to me, even though I've been in the category of being able to be monetized since February or something. Nope. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on. So, in any case, the channel is now, I got a letter today that it is monetized. So, I want to hear from you guys too. If you guys are seeing ads that are annoying the heck out of you, let me know and I'll X-nay on those. I don't want to annoy my fellow fish community members. Also, I had some tissue cultures of pink flamingo crypts in this tank, and this is another low-tech tank, and they seem to be transitioning good. Well, I would have gotten in trouble right there. Look at all these female endlers and this one male. He must be the happiest. Can you keep crystal red shrimp in 78 degrees? Sure. I've kept them up to 82. They don't like that. They seem to die off slowly, but you can keep them at that. They prefer 72 to 74, with the low end being about 67 or 68 for most of them. Now here is a Babalti shrimp. So you may have remembered I ordered Babalti shrimp, and I ordered a dozen, and all but 3 died, and then we had 1 pregnant one. And those babies grew incredibly fast, and everything I read online said that they weren't going to. Now, I thought, that they were going to grow really slow and be really hard to deal with for the offspring. No, they have grown. I don't know if this is a different variety than it was sold as. Like, it's Indian Babalti Caridinas, but there are 1,200 species, so this could have been a different collection point and maybe a different morph. I don't know. But it does turn from yellow, orange to green, and you can kind of see that yellow to green right now is going on, and the orange starts kind of at its guts by its eye. But what I did is I put about a dozen up here. I put them out of the shrimp tank. And then I also, because I couldn't keep track of them all, they hatched with some yellow Neocaridinas. So I put the yellow Neocaridinas in this tank also. And in the hopes that those two would be fine if I mixed them up. They're not going to interbreed. They're Neocaridina and Caridina. And this tank I keep at about 78. Now, Babaltes are not a common shrimp to find in the hobby, at least around here. And they're not, just because they're Caridinas, there are tons of Caridina species, they are not like fragile. Apparently they died, so they are fragile in that sense, but they are not fragile to their wild conditions. They're found in all sorts of different water, from hard to soft and everything in between. Now, right now, most of them seem to be hiding. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed the shrimp. We're going to go downstairs. We're going to feed the shrimp. And I'll talk about the rainbows while the shrimp come out to eat. In here, we also have green jade shrimp and Amano shrimp. In this tank, I'm guessing everyone's hiding because it's like 11 in the morning, and they usually kind of come out early morning, then nap half the day, and then they kind of come out later, or if there's food. But they're generally here. Also, on a side note, I have a video of a pleco, gecko. Unfortunately ate a ram's horn snail, a gold ram's horn snail. And in its stomach, it swallowed it, and I could see it, and I've got pictures of it and video of it. It swallowed a ram's horn snail bigger than its mouth somehow. Like, it must have stretched like a snake mouth, and the ram's horn snail just ate it, and it died. So that made me real sad that passed away, and I wasn't sure, like, is that really what that is in its stomach? And so I did an autopsy on it with a scalpel, and it was exactly one of these golden ram's horn snail with the red and the gold. Exactly what I thought it was in its belly, and it must have just been preventing it from, I don't know, functioning internally somehow. So let's get these shrimp fed. So believe it or not, there are 1 million shrimp in here, and 500,000 in here. But no one would know until I feed them. You can actually see all the crystals for some reason today have been piling on each other. So one of them might be, these are crystal Caridina cantosis or cantonensis. I never say that right. Canton, like Cantonese, and ensis, like lots of animals in Latin. But the Where's Waldo shrimp, we'll call them for this second in time. Lorena, hello. Come on in. Come on down. Said, come on down. But yeah, so hopefully they'll all be doing cool because they've been hanging out together all day. They're just breaking up the party now, but earlier they were all on this stick, and that's probably a sign that the pheromones within one of the females were like, I'm ready to breed. Now, also, while we can see it, check out this golden bee, which is more of like a peach bee or a I don't know, flesh tone bee. She is loaded to the brim with eggs. Like, she can barely move. She doesn't want to drop them, so she can barely move. And that's how the other one was as well until last night. Now, does that look familiar to anybody? Does that look like a smaller version of any other shrimp in my tank? That is one of the babies. So there are 3 pregnant, now there's 2. 3 pregnant bee shrimp, golden bee shrimp, and they are having babies. Now, the interesting thing about this is these bee shrimp I've shuffled around, because bee shrimp are kind of like the blank slate of the Caridina shrimp world. Now, the blue shrimp you're seeing, these are all Neocaridina species, so they can't interbreed. But when I saw a white and blue baby, I was thinking, what in the heck is going on? Because there's no blue bolts in this tank right now, okay? And I know there are a bunch of blue dream babies, but they're easy to spot. They're solid blue. Over here, we do have blue bolts. And the blue bolts were with the bees. The bees were over here. The golden bees were over here for about a month. Bentley, what's up? And the bees were over here for about a month or so in this tank, and then I switched tanks on them because I'm a jerk and I wanted to disturb their life. So they're in this tank now, as you saw the pregnant one, and it turns out that they all got pregnant at different times because some of them are having crystal red babies, which is cool. So I'm getting Mishlings. So they're a Mishling. Let me describe real quick in case you don't know. A Mishling shrimp is when you take a bee or a tiger or a bolt or any sort of Caridina shrimp that's compatible, and you mix it with a wild white Caridina or another bee or bolt species, and you end up with one that is phenotype meaning the outside appearance. Phenotypically, it may look like a red crystal shrimp. Usually they turn out black and white. They may look like that, but inside genetically they're half whatever their mother or father was that was recessive. And so you can get a whole pack of crystal shrimp, and if someone's really selling you Mishlings rather than crystal shrimp, you could end up with a surprise, because if they both have blue bolt heritage and it's just that the red crystal is showing off, Mishlings can be a good thing. So Mishlings are kind of like Christmas. You may get a really good combo, and you may get more of the dominant gene, which if you bought these, you want these. So whatever Mishling you get, the black and white one, those ones, a bee, golden bees can be Mishlings. Mishling basically just means a mix of two. A mix of two species in German, mixing, I think. And sometimes you get just really blah shrimp that are just like, I mean, I kind of think that the golden bees are a little bit blah. They're just kind of peach and pale and blotchy. And other times you'll get a killer shrimp that is from one of the recessive parents. Now, it gets a step more confusing, and I did a video on this, but I haven't put it up because I thought I'd say it live in case anybody was like, I have a question on that. Because you probably will. If you don't, you either already have done a lot of research, or you are not thinking critically on this, because it's really complicated. So, if you don't know about genetics and Punnett squares, oh, look at this. This Blue Dream female still has like 1 or 2 eggs left. So she gave birth this morning, meaning that those little teeny blue guys, will it even focus on them? Right there, are from her this morning, whereas the bigger blues are from... there's 4 different litters of blues in here now of different sizes. Those are Neocaridina. So they don't work that way. Neocaridina, if you mix a red and a blue, you'll get a wild type. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of red, a little bit of blue. Sometimes you'll get a red, but most of the time you get a wild type, or it reverts back to a natural phenotype. Phenotype meaning outside look. Now, it has those genes inside, so it can be brought back if you have another parent that breeds with it that has those same genes. 1 in 4 will have the genes that you're looking for, probably. Now, it's not as straightforward as that. Sometimes there's different, they call them alleles, that cause... how often will female cherry shrimp have eggs? Female cherry shrimp will have eggs every 30 to 40 days if they're in tip-top condition. These ones seem to be doing that. Same with all Neocaridina. You can see these are from Aquatic Arts, these little green ones, and they're doing well. They're growing a little slow, but they're doing well. These are red cherry shrimp over here. All my red cherries are kept over here, which was a little dumb because I also have my red pandas and my red King Kongs over here. That's a red King Kong, red panda. I can tell the difference, but I don't know if I'll be able to tell the difference with babies. Okay, so let me read off a comment. So, if you get all shrimp of the same morph, you have more chances of getting babies like their parents. Yes. Or if you know the the breeder, and the line, you can have what's called a true breed. So let me get back to what I was saying. So say you have a striped parent and a blue parent. This is just theoretical. This may not be how those two colors work, but just bear with me. Say you have a striped parent and a blue parent, just because they're sitting here. They have a baby, and let's say the blue is recessive, meaning it doesn't show up as easily. So their babies are going to all be red, even though they have that blue gene hidden dormant in them. So now those babies all have that gene, and if those babies have babies, by the way, this is hilarious. These crystal shrimp take the shrimp food pellets, and they've learned to swim off from the Neocaridinas with them. And I don't know where they're going because they can't eat a whole pellet. It's just impossible. But sometimes they try to swim and they like sink, and it's pretty comical. So in any case, back to these. So awesome, just ordered the striped babalti. Can't wait to get them breeding. Yeah, man, those are a pricey one, and let me know how that goes because I really dig those pink and purple babalti. There are about 1,200 species of babalti variants that they know of, and probably more than that in the wild. It's going to come down to DNA. A lot of them look the same. So let's get back to this. So the blue and the stripe had a baby, pretending that this is a blue bolt. Their babies will all be striped because that's dominant. But they have a gene that's blue. And the blue gene that's recessive is in them and it's dormant. So those babies, the second generation, which is known as F1 or F2. So F is what we use when breeding to describe. F1 is the initial generation. Some people start at 0, like the initial is F, just F, but then F1, F2, F3 are moving on. So F2, the second generation of those babies, if they had babies with each other, all those siblings in shrimp, which is common in line breeding, I know it's incest, have babies with each other, a quarter of them in most ratios will be blue. Because I've drawn this out before. Let me see if I can find a pen real quick. It's a quick show and a pretty simple concept when you see it drawn out. But basically, you have it's like a lottery. And so when you know that the shrimp siblings you bought are all the same, that's going to be an easy one to determine. But when you don't know what you're starting with, you don't know, your breeder's like, I don't know what had babies with what, which is kind of my case here, then you're gonna have to play it out a few generations to figure it out. So let me find a blank page that's not a bunch of information on history or science. Here we go. Okay, so we have Caridinas. All right. So we have our red crystal and our blue. Okay. And up here, we're going to do that again. Red crystal, blue. And this is assuming that there are only 2 genes working. There may be 3 or 4, and that's when you get lots of crazy combos. But it seems like with most of the variations in the Caridina shrimp world, they're usually working with either 2, these are called alleles or genes, or 3. So basically, a quarter of the babies will be all red crystal. A quarter of the babies will be all blue. And this is the second generation, by the way. Meaning that they had the red crystal mother and a blue father. And then... and so then here we get red crystal and a B. But the red crystal, if it's there, it dominates. So it's just red crystal. And same with here. So it's just red crystal. So that gives you 25% chance in the second gen, which is called F2, that you're going to have a 25% that you have blues, like blue bolts, and 75% that you have reds. So now if you take those reds and you take 2 of the babies that are red with blue, so here's mom, and over here's dad, same deal. These are their genes that they're contributing to the egg. You're going to come out with those same odds right up here, remember? But if we take that and we say the baby has BB, then you have all blues on that square, and it's only going to produce blues. And from that point on, which will be generation 3, so F3, you will have a solid line. Now, at the same time, these ones that got a red gene, red crystal gene, and a red crystal gene, when those have babies with other ones that have red crystal genes, if you see no babies, so if you put all of these in different, all these generations in different tanks, you'd be able to sort it out. For me, I'm just eyeballing it. So, but I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I don't know. Does that make any sense to anybody? Rip Banish from GMS. Any hard water fish except live bears? Maybe. Oh, Banshee from GMS. Banshee, what's going on with Banshee? So basically my water comes in around 7 point. Yeah, right. No, I'm not repeating it all. My water comes in at 6.5 to 7.2 pH and a TDS of like 25. So this tub is Brightwell. This is Brightwell. This is Brightwell. Wow. Hey, they're all coming out to feed. So here you can see the nursery. And you can see that the green jades, that I put a mother green jade in here, she had babies, and now they're putting enough size on them. They're probably 1/3 of an inch long, maybe even half an inch. It's time for them to go back to your... Oh, Jeffrey, thank you so much, man. It's time for them to go back out of this tank, because I don't want them breeding with... here's another pregnant one. You can tell a red cherry shrimp is pregnant, by the way. 1, by that bigger belly, but 2, if she's flapping those back, what are they called? Pitipals? I'm so bad at remembering what the stupid things are called. Petapods? Parapods? I don't know. But the little swimmerettes, then they'll do that. So... they'll do that because they're bringing oxygen to their eggs. Also, here is a weird one, and I don't know what the heck this baby is from. So in here, there could not have been a baby made from the Neocaridinas that looks like this. There's been a yellow female that was pregnant and taken out the day she gave birth. Pleopods, thank you so much. Man, I forget that term every single friggin' time. Thank you, Bentley. In here, this may be the fact that maybe the blue bolts have some tiger in them back when they were Michelin or something. And almost all of the shrimp you'll be getting nowadays at some point have Michelin in them, because that diversified their DNA, and it made it so instead of looking at them and sneezing would kill them, now they stand a better chance. And right now, all these fish, or all these shrimp in this tank, everything except the green jades. The green jades I got at aquaticarts.com, and if you use the code secret shrimp 10, all one word, all in caps. You will get 10% off, so you can check that out. And then they have all sorts of shrimp too, but I just happened to get their jades because their jades are phenomenal. These are the babies, and they haven't colored up all the way. And look at that green. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Whereas jades have a real tendency to not. Looks like Bentley's taking care of your pH question, so thank you, Bentley. Look at this. Where'd he go? This blue bolt is going to try to steal a food pellet that's bigger than his literal torso. Where's he going to go with it? I mean, there's like pellets over here. He doesn't need to go anywhere with it. The Caridina shrimp, I swear, are the greediest little shrimp. But here you can see that this blue bolt is pregnant also, which I'm really excited about. Where'd she go? Is also pregnant. She's been either dropping eggs or giving birth. In fact, she just flicked one off. I don't know if you guys saw that. She must be giving birth today. She flicked one off. Can I focus on it? It's hard to get it to focus on that small of a thing. It fell somewhere down here. Can you guys see that little thing spinning around on its side? It's gone now. But in any case, she's giving birth today, so that's exciting. Yep, there goes another Caridina. Here goes Black King Kong disappearing with a pellet. And I don't know where they're going to disappear to. They're just going to end up with other shrimp that are lazy that don't come to the food. So, whatever. But I need to be keeping a very vigilant eye on this tank to get all of these green shrimp out. Also, I had the yellow female that gave birth in here. And the cherries. Now, this is going to be one of the yellows. And you can see it's not a very good grade yellow. That's a poor grade yellow. And so I don't know what caused that, if there was any contamination in the line. But as you saw earlier, I moved all the yellows and the babaltis upstairs. Yellows seem to grow the slowest for some reason, for me anyways. Here's another yellow that you can kind of barely see next to that shell. Let's see, are there any other ones hiding under here? Also, you can see some little flatworms and stuff. Here's a black King Kong, whereas up here is a panda. And I'm hoping that they bred with the blue bolts and I get some blue shadow pandas. That would be most excellent. I'd like some better blue shrimp in the Caridina family. Now I have to say, I got all these from Flip, and if you want to buy shrimp from Flip Aquatic, use the code HISTORY and then the number 10. And that's a capital H and then the number 10, 10, and you'll get 10% off additionally on anything you buy through them. Plus, the bigger thing is, I mean, yeah, it's nice to get 10% off. That could be your shipping or whatever. But I want to establish a relationship with them and Aquatic Arts or anybody who is willing that has good quality livestock that I like. If they're willing to contribute to the channel and send me, like, for half off, I can buy something for half off, show you guys, hey, this is a such and such shrimp, or this is a blah 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 fish. And then they extend, a deal to you, that's a must. So you got to get at least 10% off, if not more, or something free. And then, number 2, in the future, we have an agreement that if enough people are using that code, so secret shrimp, all caps, number 10, no spaces, for aquaticarts.com, and history with a capital H, and then the number 10, no spaces, so history 10, capital H, for Flip Aquatics. Those are the codes, and both those places have agreed that if enough people, say 50 people, use that code, then we'll work together on a giveaway. And, like, they'll say, okay, well, we've made enough money off your channel and your viewers that we can give back. And so that's just how I want to run any sort of quote unquote product placement or animal placement. Is I try to talk to anybody that I was going to buy stuff from anyways, and then I see if they want to extend at least 10% off, if not 20, to my viewers, and then the hope in the future that if I say make them $1,000, they'll give away $100 of that as part of the incentive for people to use it, which also gives me incentive to push the code because I want you guys to get cool stuff. So that's kind of how it's working, because I always have a weird feeling about... Now, you can see the difference here between a Caridina and a Neocaridina, right? The eyes are a little closer together on the Caridinas, which are the striped ones. Their tails are generally more fanned out. And there's other little cues, but that and then their legs aren't quite as spindly. So that's a whole other thing. Now up here, I wanted to find you guys more babies, because the babies born yesterday, I just have tons of babies, and I've had plenty of adults die, but I have so many babies in these tanks that it's okay. So here, right here, is a blue with a white stripe. I don't know if you can see that that's white. Maybe it looks clear, but it's white. And so I'm assuming that whoa, look at how blue. This is one of Lucas Brett's bluest, truest shrimp blue dreams in the world. And man, in the morning or midday when they aren't in the sun, they look so beautiful. So this one is obviously going to be like its golden bee mom. It looks like already an orange golden bee. How long do shrimps live? They live a year to 3, roughly, in ideal conditions. In the wild, they probably live a year if they don't get eaten. And obviously, they have 15 to 50 babies. So the strategy... Oh, there she goes, stealing another one. She's pregnant. She deserves it. If she can haul eggs and that, we'll see. But this guy is fighting off babies. He's stealing candy from baby. Oh, or maybe he gave it up. Maybe he gave it to him. He's literally pooping and eating. I mean, that's gross. But, dude, you've had enough. Let the little baby shrimp eat. So, this tank, low pH, or not low, not super low pH, sorry. The pH is around 6.8. So just below neutral. And the TDS is right around 150, which I wish it was lower than that. But Neocaridinas need hardness. They need things to make their shell. They need calcium and general hardness, GH and KH. Whereas Caridina shrimp don't as much. Look at this. This Caridina, this crystal shrimp carried that pellet, and they're pretty dense pellets, all the way up into the roots of the plant. They're just, they're so greedy. Be nice, share. Hey there, 1 Min Aquarius. So let's take a look at the rainbowfish. Now, here's the rainbowfish right here. Can you see it swimming? This is a, where'd it go? They're so small, it's hard to film them. So pay no attention to all the blues in the background, but there's 3 in here right now. I'm sure they'll swim by. So basically, you see all these seed shrimps in here and little creatures. I figured, well, I don't need all those little creatures in my shrimp tank, so why don't I just put my baby rainbowfish in there, and I don't have to worry about infusoria or any of that stuff. I've got a million little critters and algae and bacteria and stuff for them to eat going on in this tank. And here is snails fighting over that. Interesting too, I've got a new morph of a purple snail. I think it's the black snail, which is right on the left, has black flesh, and this one has pink flesh. And they're making this kind of purple or burgundy-ish color. And I kind of like that, so I'll probably pull them out and keep them aside. Now up here we have a couple eggs that didn't hatch, or haven't hatched yet. Hopefully they still may. I can see their eyes. I know they want to. I heard them saying, Alex, we want to hatch, and they're rolling around. You have SSS crystal shrimp. Those should be definitely pure, so those shouldn't have anything. So here's a Japanese Endler cross with a rainbow tiger Endler, by the way. Sometimes they cross more in the Endler favor, and sometimes they're more in the Japanese flavor. So these two are kind of interesting. That one looks more like a tiger Endler, rainbow tiger Endler. Whereas this one, these two, definitely have more blue in the body. If I can get it to focus. There we go. Blue and green in the body. But they don't have the lyre tail, which is what I want. So, yeah. So, up here, we have 2 rainbow fish, at least. 2 more other than the 3. That have hatched. Now what I've used is I've used the back of a Q-tip blister pack from like Walgreens. I just ripped that off and filled it with water, and then I filled it with enough water that it is not neutrally buoyant. It's actually trying to push up as I pushed it down, and the rim is holding it in place because it has a rim, so it's stuck up to the lip, and that's how I'm keeping them. So there's 2 baby rainbow fish. I do have a lot of tips for people trying to start a Caridina tank. My number 1 tip is get Brightwell or some sort of substrate that is going to make your life easier. Don't fight your water. If you have really hard water, you need an RO filter. If you have soft water, you can sometimes, like I do here in Seattle, use tap water. Like I have 28 is like the highest I see usually, TDS, and that's low enough that you can get away with it. I mean, these shrimp right now, because I've got red cherries in here, this was an experiment to see if I could keep at around 180 TDS in here, which is too high for most Caridina shrimp, but they seem to be tolerating it. A couple have died, but believe it or not, more of the Neocaridinas have died from a lack of calcium during their molts. So if you crank it up slowly, almost with all shrimp species, you can get away with a lot more than the parameters say. But to be safe, I definitely, first of all, recommend get a substrate that helps you make your life easier. Like Brightwell, I think it sits right around 1.5 points is what it'll lower your pH. So like my pH is coming out at 7, it'll go to 5.8 if I just put it in a box and or in a bucket and let it sit. And so from there you can kind of calculate what you need, how much Brightwell, or if your water is too soft, which I doubt, you can add crushed coral or something like that to it. But they can live in good, whatever water. The other thing I would have to say is I would personally have a tank with something that likes low TDS, like fish in it, and snails and algae and all sorts of that ecology going. If ideally, I would spend 3 to 6 months on the tank. So like, you see how dirty this tank is? Yeah, it's growing a lot of snails and stuff too, and there's like skeletons of plants, but these tanks with the catappa leaves that have been breaking down for a long time, they are ready to go. Like these plants and these logs and rocks have biofilm on them. I also highly recommend Bacter AE. It kind of gets bacteria inoculated and started, kind of like a kombucha culture. Up here is my actual Japanese blue. Well, it's not the actual. The first generation has since passed on. These are F2 and F3. F2 has the leopard spots on its tail, and F3 F3 does not, or F1 does not right here. This is the oldest one. And they're getting nippy. They're just being them. This is another rainbow fish, by the way. Another lone female precox. I don't know why I have them. So I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Not that it's a big deal. Whoa, these fish are just holding perfectly still. So in this tank, which right now is not that many fish, it's baby guppies, I am going to be, and I moved all the cories out of it. I am going to be moving in tomorrow from Aquatic Arts. They're sending me 9 ruby tetras that are supposed to be like a dark red ruby. And I'm going to have, so here's the difference between, this one was living in a high tech alone and able to eat as much food as he wanted. These guys have been competing. And so that male is bigger than the other fish, or female, but it looks like a male to me from above. It's not as wide. But I want to have, so I have 5 here, I'm getting 9 more. So in a 20 long, I'm going to have 14 ruby tetras, and I want to see if we can get them to school. That's the ultimate goal. I took out all the catfish and things like that in here. Down here, we have the catfish. Basically, it looks like I have a couple really boring guppies, and that's it in this tank. But there are 3 catfish in here that are the Tatia mosaicas, or the wood cats. Let's see if I can see any. Are there any around there? No. They're probably hiding under this rock. There are 2 pleco partners, and there are... Oh, there's a wood cat right under there, if you can see its tail. Sorry about the water stains. They're black and white. They look like orcas. You can check out my old videos on them. But I've got those. I've got these endlers, which basically get moved. Like, the good ones get kept. The other ones get moved. I'm growing on too many females now, which I had the opposite problem before. But these endlers are not coloring up. They're taking 3 to 4 months to color up, which is infuriating about not getting the females pregnant, because they're getting the females pregnant now before they even color up. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping old females that I know have bred alone in a tank upstairs for like a month or 2, and then I'm putting that king upstairs in with them. And then I'll move them and lose track of them, but they'll have at least a litter of his babies. And so hopefully by the next generation, F3, of the king's babies, which is the ideal, they'll be looking good. Let's see here. Alex, I have hundreds of Bloody Mary shrimp and would like to add a different color pattern shrimp that won't interbreed. Thus, I have added a Caridina. What would you suggest? You could add a Caridina. You could add a Babalti Caridina, which would be interesting. They have Flip Aquatics has some striped ones, but they're very small. They're like ½ an inch, but they're purple and clear, or pink and clear and striped. They look like something out of this world. You could also do something like ghost shrimp if you want to go the clear route. You could do Amanos, but they beat up on each other really badly. The other thing you could do, if you're careful, I suppose, is you could do some... They're gonna devolve. Oh, I forgot to say I have 1 crib pair left in this tank too, but I don't want them to breed, so I'm not giving them any good houses. I'm done with cribs right now. I had enough cribs. Cribs are off the plate right now. Up here, you can see the Aru2s. The male is all showing off, which is cool. I'm glad you guys can see this. Well, now he's going to be shy. I'll try to be sneaky here. But you have to put bags and cardboard and stuff. I mean, you could put something nice up, but I just put whatever I had, because these guys will run straight into the glass, these rainbow fish. So these are more blue-eyed pseudomagills. You see him showing his fins there? He's very beautiful. I can't wait for them to lay enough eggs that I don't have to have them in this god-awful container anymore. So I hope that they finish spawning soon, get about 20 eggs collected, and then I'm going to put them upstairs in the high-tech tank and move around some of the guppies that are up there. Now, over here, we have tin Whinny Danios, which at first nobody could figure out what the heck they were, and we thought that they were gold rings. That's what they were sold as, but they have a purple and red hint to them. I got an old magazine issue of Amazonas, and I found this purple one, and it has a slightly different fin configuration too. And it turns out that if it has slight purple or mahogany shine to it, that it is a tin Whinny, which is a different species, and biologically, like, it's quite a bit different. Also, I moved more cories up here into this last chamber on the 20 breeder. There's 4 of the same here, and they're just chilling. They're like the false Julii. Whereas I have more Julii, real Julii. There's 5 real Julii in here. But they just sleep all day, unless they have a big tank with lots of fish to make them feel comfortable. Also, I have, as I've showed off before, the Thai variety. And I just have a mop in here just in case these guys spawn or anything. But really, I want to do a tub later this summer and see if they'll spawn. So this is the light orange to yellow variety of CPDs. And they're coming out of Thailand, apparently, from what I've read online. Whereas the ones with the red to orange color, and this is a female, you can tell by the little black notch by her anal fin. You see that little black notch there? In between the bottom 2 fins. And she's got a belly, too. Whereas the males look a little crooked, like here's a male. But in any case, and here with the Danios, with the tin Whinny Danios, they have, their female is just clearly a chunky girl. She's just full of eggs. So, yeah. But I would say I really love, hey Portugal, what's up? Thanks for joining. So I'm really hoping that these, Pseudomogol Gertrude Aru 2 location. Aru is an island. 2 is the location which they were collected in between Papua and Australia. And you can see that these could be very beautiful fish. I've been feeding them live vinegar eels and mosquito larvae outside. I just have pots and pans with water in them, and I know my neighbors are gonna straight up kill me over that one. But I don't care. What do they do for me? And I'd like to get a bigger tank. I've been talking to the wife about getting a 75 or 100 gallon, or maybe a nice rimless. Like, I don't have the money for that right now, but Asparagus Ash, what's up, dude? But I might be able to work something out. Here is a true Julii Corridora, by the way. Do you know where I can order shrimp? GBR Murray. Where are you located, GBR? If you're in the UK, I would say Mark's Shrimp. Talk to him online. He's got, he sells them, and he's got the know-how on that. Also, if you're in the US, I would say Flip for Caridina if you don't know a small breeder. And then for Neo Caridina, LR Bretts, but he's sold out and you got to get on his waiting list. But I would suggest Aquatic Arts has a good list. Look at some of these rainbow endlers now. The tiger, rainbow leopard endlers, since they were crossed with the Japanese blues, they have a very interesting look. With some of their wild coloration coming back out. Also, I've got some killifish. These guys lay eggs all the time, and then they eat them, and then like a couple babies survive, and then they die, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I've tried a million things, and I just can't seem to get these rocket killies to get, like, I think I bred 4 or 5 that stayed, and that was it. Also, I have a blue that is translucent and almost black most of the time. Right now it's real light blue because it's under the light exactly. But so yeah. Also tomorrow from Aquatic Arts, who I think has really good plants. They've got some good nano fish, and then their Caridina supply is pretty on point. That's where I got the green jades. These guys, the green jades, I got from them. Also, I've gotten in the past some blue shrimp from them that were really on point. And plants for shrimp, I recommend Anubias, Java fern. These moss balls are friggin' great. Choya, which I know is not a live plant, which is a cactus wood. And then really, more so just biofilm. Like find stuff like Bacter AE and just kind of prime your tank so that you start seeing snails and you start seeing some of the little heebie-jeebies, copepods and stuff, and some of the algae, the diatom, and the other stuff. And that'll let you know that your tank is like a full ecosystem on the micro level of plankton and things. And that's really what they need to eat. You can have no plants at all in a tank if you feed them just supplements, but that's no fun, right? It's a very sterile tank. That's how they raise them in like China and Taiwan frequently, is they just have these big sterile tanks with like one block of choya wood, and yeah, that's it. But for plants, do what you like. Definitely get some catappa leaves. Let those disintegrate. Throw them in and just let them rot, basically. You see this clear layer? That's all biofilm and what's it called? Cellulose combined into this thin layer, but the shrimp eat it. And so that'll be gone, just like it's gone off this skeletonized plant very soon. And so you can do what you want planting wise with shrimp, but I just recommend that you plant it so that you can see them. So I kind of like modular plants. Like I put Anubias in my choya wood. I put floating Anubias. Some of these things like crypts and stuff that are low to the ground I think are a good choice. This tank's a little crazy right now, but basically I would just plant it however you want to plant it and keep it less cluttered if you want to see your shrimp. Oh, there's the big female pleco. She doesn't come out in the day usually, but I'm looking to unload her. She makes a big mess in her bioload, and she's a green dragon, but she's not green, and she's just kind of like earth toned, and she's had a good life, obviously. And hold on one sec. I'm gonna wash my hands because I was in the shrimp tank. Dum da dum. Don't mind me, guys. So yeah, also, as I was saying earlier, let me know if you're seeing more ads or any of that crap, because I don't want you guys to have to deal with anything that ruins the experience that you've been having with the channel. And they just sent me a letter saying that I have monetized. They sent me that letter 4 months late. And then they sent a letter saying, an email saying that just because you were just now monetized doesn't mean that we're treating your search results any differently. We have in the past, and if you were under our former system, it stops now. So basically they said we're not going to give search preference to people, to different people, because they're making money or not. But now they admitted that they've been doing it for 10 years, which makes sense. They're out to make money. They're a company, whatever. Just seeing if any shrimp came out up here while we were downstairs chatting away. Also, Bentley mentioned red plants. And I don't know why the live stream camera sucks so bad on the contrast. But this is the Pantanal, Ludwigia Pantanal. And to my view, this is like a peachy orange. And I've broken it up a couple times and replanted it. Also, like super red Ludwigia looks pink on the phone, but it's like a blood rusty red to me in person. All these other ones are a nice bronze. Hey, there's an Amano Shrimp. So these only give birth in brackish water or salt water. They do a good job at eating algae, but they're kind of bullies. So honestly, I think I'm done with Amano Shrimp unless they're on their own in a tank. they're real mean to the jade shrimp I have in this tank. They beat them up real hardcore in the way that shrimp do, which is just like taking food and flicking them and stuff. Also, the boost that was kind of beaten up that I got for cheap. There, it's kind of starting to heal. I've tucked it into cracks. Also, the hydrocuddle I've trained up through the little mountain range thing that I'm making. And then the moss, the same. And then we've got more boost there. So I'm getting, yeah, your Moscow tank, that's a lot of ammonia and everything, even though it's a big tank. It could use a cleanup crew for the algae or anything. How long you change the shrimp water? Someone asks. I change my shrimp water as it evaporates, essentially. And I try to do that with distilled water if I'm going to just top off, like about 2/3 of the time. So I'll go to Walgreens and I'll buy a jug of distilled or purified water. And their purified water is distilled, just so you know. If there's ever a difference, I've tested it. It's the same thing. And I'll just use that because it's only a 5 and a 10-gallon tank. And so I'd say every 2 weeks or so, I go through a gallon with those tanks, just kind of topping them off. And then I'll do a normal water change maybe once a month. I try not to change it a lot because I've had more shrimp die in my life during water changes than every other time combined. So that's kind of with shrimp, like they can ease into like freezing temperatures, Caridina, but you can't just drop them in. And same with like the water change temperature, all those variables, the pH and everything. Cherry shrimp are friggin' bulletproof now. They have been crossbred so many times over with sturdy relatives and things that they're good to go, but the Caridina are still a bit touchy. So, yeah. Is there a shrimp that can go with dwarf cichlids? I thought so. My red Nigerian cribs did really well with blue dream shrimp. However, as soon as I got poulture cribs that are in here, I've got two poultures instead of the tiniatas. They killed 200 red. I had painted fire reds in this tank, 200 of them. They were everywhere. They look great. They killed them all in 2 days. I couldn't even save them. So I would say no. I would say even the adults are at risk from dwarf cribs now, or from dwarf cichlids. Although maybe like an apisto or something like that might tolerate the adults hanging out. If you've got a tank that's this wild and crazy, some shrimp will survive, but the babies are goners by any fish, and the adults are going to be hunted by the cribs whenever they come out and make a stand at night, especially if they get close to their nest or their little pathways that they create. What was I going to show you? Oh, so the lemon tetras, the orange-eyed lemon tetras, I really want to get another 20 long, like the next free one that comes along, I'll probably snag, because I want to try to breed them because they're starting to get sick. If anybody knows what this is, please let me know. I've assumed it's cancer, but there's these dark spots on their spinal columns, and I've seen it in ember tetras and things like that. Let's see here. There's another one that has it really bad. And I've assumed it is cancer. Thanks, man. What kind of fish would you recommend go with shrimp? Everything you've seen so far in this tank, I had live with shrimp. So just exclude the cribs, which haven't come out for you guys, and maybe the Siamese algae eaters. They'll bug them sometimes. But you see those black lines on the lemon tetra? There's another one if I can find. Yeah, right here. These two have it really bad. You see that? It's internal. It's definitely on one side. And I thought it was parasites. I've treated them with a bunch of parasite medication. but they've just been getting it slower and slower, and it's spreading throughout their body, and it starts to bulge outward, but it's all on their spinal column, and then it spreads from there, like towards the end of their life. So I'm gonna treat them again probably. Like they're all pretty happy-go-lucky. I haven't lost any of them, but this guy, you can see his scales look a little rough there too. So there is some sort of, I don't know, bacterial or whatever. Yeah, in this tank, if anything's contagious, I'm screwed. This tank is, you know, it's very big, full of life. So other fish that go well with shrimp, I think I did a video on that if you go back into my past videos. Also, if you go back into my past videos and just say something you liked, that's going to enter you into the drawing for plants, for $100 worth of free plants that I mentioned that I will draw next Thursday. Um, so a week from today. Guppies, endlers, they work okay with shrimp if you have a ton of underbrush cover. So in here, I do have, believe it or not, at night they come out. There's one. I do have a bunch of shrimp in here. Also, if you guys haven't seen these are called marbled or zebra. There's two species, but they come in called both, whatever the distributor wants to call them. And either marble or zebra autosynchronous, and I think they're really cool. I like them a lot. Um, so yeah, this was originally my Iwagumi aquarium. I want to get back to another aquarium where I have not so many plants, like maybe some crypts and some carpeting plants, and then like a long aquarium like out to here, and like one stone over here, like a mountain range like that right in the corner, and then the rest of it just like flatlands or rolling hills. And then I want to put shrimp and like Monte Carlo or something on that so that it looks like they're like cattle grazing on the Monte Carlo. Other great choices to pair up with shrimp are male endlers. The females will eat babies and even a couple adults I've seen before. Small Danios work great with shrimp. Uh, these are great. Neon Tetras are awesome with shrimp. Ember Tetras, those are awesome. Ruby Tetras, they're good. They're little hunters. They will hunt the babies, but they're good with them. I wrote a list. I'm sure I did a video that has like the best fish to go with shrimp, adult shrimp versus baby shrimp. Also really great. These little, I love the little wild type, just oddball endler males. I keep the females get big enough that they will eat even moderately sized shrimp, but they don't a lot. It's like more of like out of sight, out of mind if you keep them fed. Also, I highly recommend erythromicron. These guys, also known as emerald rasboras. Also, CPDs, these are the ones I was talking about. These are the Lake Inle, Burma, or Myanmar variety. They're really beautiful and they go really well with shrimp. Chili rasboras go well with shrimp. Basically, anything that, other than an autosynchronous, anything that a shrimp can fit in its mouth, in theory, you could lose shrimp to. Beyond that, just keep the mouths small. Threadfin rainbowfish work pretty well. Here's some more erythromicrons. They're being shy right now. I don't know why. I put some ditherfish in here and they've been a lot less shy. Like I never saw them. I didn't even know I had them anymore for a while. And now I see them and the CPDs all the time, which is great. What's a good ditherfish for killifish? I have a friend with pair last second. He had to get rid of them, and I season tank to fill up, but all they do is hide. The orcas are doing well. Somebody asked how what are they called? Tatia mosaica. That's the closest thing that we can find to them. We don't know their real name. They're not ninja woodcats technically. A fella in Germany who is an ichthyologist told me that he has bred them and he believes he's the only one who's bred them. Ninja woodcats have been bred. I'm not attempting to breed them right now. I'm just attempting to stabilize them for a few months. So they're downstairs, like I said, under the stone with with the big adult pleco and with some of the Cory cats. They seem to pile in just fine. They do have hooks and spines that they use on each other. They stack all up, and I've noticed they do get some scrapes, so that's kind of odd, and I worry about bacteria and infection, but they seem to be pretty hardy in that way, even though they like play dead all the time, and that also nerves me out. Like if they see that I'm there in the daytime and they're out, they'll like roll on their side and start to drift. And I'm like, oh crap, it's dead. And then I go to touch it and it whips around so it could get me with its spike. I always use something like this after I got spiked once because those spikes hurt. Okay, so D. Smith, what are good ditherfish for killifish? More killifish. I would recommend, so they usually hang out in the very top of the water. You could use like some hatchet fish that also move around in the top of the water that might get them moving more. Uh, I'm surprised if you're saying they're hiding. I'm assuming they're hiding low. Otherwise, do you just have a lot of stuff on the surface of your tank? Because the other option is to just get rid of the stuff on the surface of the tank, which makes them less happy, but they'll be out. Um, and I am using, hold on, we got a couple things. Uh, they hide low. Okay. What kind of killies are those? That's unusual. Usually midwater is as far as they'll go. And they like to hide in, Pogostem and Erectus or something like that. In the Java moss. Well, I would say get rid of the Java moss if they're hiding in there all the time. But a good dither, I would get some clown killies or some rocket killies. I like them. You saw what they look like downstairs. I think they're beautiful. They're very available and they're very peaceful. And they just kind of might show them the way, like, hey, come out front. No one's going to attack you because basically ditherfish worked. Sorry, guys, I got the hiccups. Ditherfish work two ways in my mind, and that is either they show you that, hey, look, fish are swimming and around and there's nothing to worry about. There's no predators. And the other fish know this, and so they're cool with it. And they're just going to chill. Whereas the other way is to get something that's spooky but not actually going to hurt them and to use that as a dither to force them out, which is what I had to do with these erythromicrons. I got one Danio that will go back into their hiding spot and shake them up, and now they're just cool with the wide open. And same with the Siamese algae eater. He'll just like haul into their little hiding area back there, and so they come all out, and eventually they learn to get used to it, and now that's just where they hang out. But yeah. Yeah, the second they see anyone get close to the tank, they fly into the Java moss. Huh. For those killies, yeah, I would recommend that. Maybe if you haven't tried it yet, why don't you get some something floating on top of the tank, like a mosaic plant is really cool. Frogbit is the bane of my existence right now. It's taken over all my tanks, so I don't recommend that, but it does suck a lot of nitrogen out. But like water lettuce, frogbit, giant water lettuce, salvinia, things like that, which is also known as cat's tongue. Get something that floats maybe and has a little bit of roots. Red root floaters are really cool if you have CO2. And that will give them somewhere to hide up at the top, because what they're probably afraid of is Asian watergrass is really cool. I agree with Bentley. But what they're really afraid of is a predator swooping in and eating them, or coming from below and eating them. So if they know below's cool and they have a place to kind of duck under up top, maybe they'll come out more. So try those things and let me know how it goes, because I'm curious. And depending on the species of killifish, some are just really shy because they're only around for a very short time, and their goal is to reproduce and hide and make it to the reproduction part, and that's it. Does red root floaters only do well with CO2? You can grow them in other tanks. frequently other plants will take over, and red root floaters don't turn that like beautiful, like bloody slash crimson or mahogany and purple, those tones, without the CO2 and the fertilizers as much. But that being said, like if I threw it in my 40 over here, which I'm blasting with light and just the amount of nutrients that come from being overstocked with fish, they'd probably do okay in here. Because I'm getting like super red colors and full-on bronzes that are better than even in the CO2. Yeah, so if you have any current, even a hang off the back, red root floaters, Priscilla, can die really easily. So you need a real quiet place. Fill the water up very close to the top here. Or what you can do is you can take a bag or something that's long, like a piece of plastic, and put it like this and hang it from the filter back up in here into the water so that it doesn't disturb, so the current is directed down below, and so that the surface of your water isn't moving so much, because red root floaters hate current. So like here, I don't have any red root floaters left either, but everything's kind of rafted together with salvinia, water lettuce, and frogbit. And over here, you can see how still the water is. I would say that this tank right now, red root floater, would be okay even in this tank. Right now, hey, you can see the male mating with the female from above. Finally, I think he shoots blanks or something, because these females, there's like a couple pregnant ones and the rest are not. So let me just say thank you all for joining, for watching. I think in the future I will have super chats. I don't know how I feel about that, but also for the contest, if you want to win $100